So I'm Robert Habiger, my wife Lynn Doxon. We are here to talk about developing a multi-generational urban living environment that using permaculture and sustainable principles, and it's also about a food forest.
Robert is an architect who specialized in appropriate technology, accessibility, renewable energy, and environmental psychology since the early 1970s. And we met as graduate students at Kansas State University.
And Lynn and I have been partners in all things for 27 years. She has a PhD in horticulture, and we're here to give you a little bit of insight about what we're doing on our property.
There's evidence that much of the Amazon forest was deliberately planted with high concentrations of food and medicinal plants to support a very large settled population of Amazonians, and that slash-and-burn nomadic agriculture developed as a response to European invasion. This sort of thing is still happening in Central and South America. In 1986, I was invited to Honduras to teach Hondurans how to grow home gardens, but what I discovered when I got there was that every Honduran already had a home garden. And so I changed my dissertation project in the field by myself and did a survey of home gardens in Honduras. I interviewed families throughout the country at high elevations and low elevations, rural and urban, and found multi-layered, diverse, dense, and disorganized home gardens that would not be recognized as a home garden by a North American or European development worker. There were over 300 species in these home gardens. So we know that this concept works very well in the tropics, but will it work in a temperate zone desert? We recently decided to find out.
So we found a corner lot in Alvarado Park area up by Uptown, 1,200 square foot main house, a 1,200 square foot garage shop that we're converting. This is really about developing it for 3 generations as well as for ourselves. It gives Lynn space for developing the landscape and be a very interesting project. As I said, we're converting it for multi-generational people. Lynn's mom is 88 years older than our granddaughter, Akalina. When we get all done, we're going to have 3 living spaces, so it's an equivalent of 12 living units per acre, which is a very sustainable kind of place. The original 2 buildings are going to be converted into main living spaces for ourselves and one of the daughters. The 2-story addition is going to connect the 2 buildings and be a unifying element into the property itself. There will be a greenhouse on the east side that's going to be developed. It's also going to be our main formal entrance. One of the interesting things about when we found this property, they described it as being Southwest natural, which meant that the landscape was Southwest natural, meant that it was just dirt and weeds, which was perfect for Lynn, and she's going to talk about that.
The landscape will be developed using permaculture principles. So far we've selected 145 species of plants that we'll be planting in this yard. There will be 7 layers, sort of like a 7-layer dip. We are Southwestern after all. We'll have tall trees, shorter trees, large shrubs, small shrubs, herbaceous perennials and annuals, vines, and root crops. In the front yard, we'll have traditional temperate zone trees and shrubs that produce fruit, medicinal herbs, a golden chain tree arch as the main entrance to the property, and an Atlas cedar and weeping willow, which are the tallest trees on the property. The corner will be occupied by a hummingbird and butterfly garden. This garden will be a sunken spiral held up by stone retaining walls, and it'll be deep enough that when you sit on the bench in the center of the garden, you won't be able to see out of the spiral. You'll be completely surrounded by flowers and wildlife. The backyard, we have already terraced and planted vegetables and strawberries around the edge, with a few fruit trees immediately to the west of the house to provide shade, and a cash crop of culinary herbs in the center portion of the yard. The chickens live in the far back corner of the backyard in a pen because we have a hawk that lives across the street. The south side of the house will be something of a nostalgia garden. The pomegranates and figs and rosemary will remind my mother of her Southern California home. And Robert and I like the grasses and grains and sunflowers that will be planted outside the wall, reminding us of the Kansas plains where we met and the plains of Ukraine where we adopted our 3 daughters. We'll also have nitrogen-fixing plants, plants that bring nutrients up from deep in the soil with their deep penetrating roots, and large-leafed plants, all of which will be composted in place to improve the tilth of the soil.
For maximum water management, which is one of our goals sustainably, we're going to have a substantial gray water system as well as collecting all the rainwater off the roofs, and we have sensors to for irrigating the water or irrigating plants when the water comes on. This is an innovative system for the gray water. It uses pumice wicks where the roots go into the roots go into the pumice wicks. We're going to take all that soil from the hummingbird garden and use it to make rammed earth yard walls. So everything is going to be recycled that's on the property itself.
We anticipate that it'll take us about 5 years to convert the soil that makes rammed earth walls into fertile organic soil that grows plants. But we're working on that. This summer we started selling herbs at the Uptown Farmers Market, and we anticipate to expand that as well as selling to small restaurants and food trucks next year. All of this will be funded by private funds, herb sales, and a crowdfunding campaign that we hope will begin soon. So see our website or like us on Facebook to find out more.
Yeah, we really do want to get your comments, and you can go to the website and get information about the herbs that you can use for recipes, as well as information about our project itself. Thank you.